When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
All right, listeners, hello and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and we've got another really great episode in store for you today. And Erica Bennett and I have been on each other's podcasts. She hosts the Crazy Ex-Wives Club podcast. I am not going to label myself as a crazy ex-wife because I absolutely think I am a completely sane, sweet, kind ex-wife. And I always wanted everything to be fair in my divorces. But I will tell you, in my very first divorce, I was drugged through hell and it was no fun. And no one deserves that. So today we're not only talking maybe a little bit about relationships and divorce. We'll touch on that a little bit. But really what we want to touch on is, how do you know you're ready? How do you know you're ready for a divorce, a relationship, a career change, to be a mom? All these big leaps that we take in our life. You know, this is the podcast called Take the Leap because we're talking about designing your life. And you may have been asking yourself week after week as you're listening to this podcast, that's great, Colleen. You've been sharing all of these ways we can design our lives, but I'm scared and I don't know if I'm ready. So Erica Bennett is here today. She's going to help you feel a little bit more at ease with understanding some of the questions you can ask yourself and what you need to do to prepare to know if you're ready. But before we get to Erica, I need to thank our sponsor, of course, of today's show, Beyond Basil Mobile Pizzeria. They're passionate about bringing the authentic flavors of Italy right to your event and wedding. Their mobile pizzeria is a culinary adventure on wheels where they craft artisanal pizzas using the finest ingredients and traditional Neapolitan techniques. Whether you're craving a classic margarita or looking to explore one of the unique flavor combinations, the skilled pizziolas are here to create mouthwatering pizzas that will tantalize your taste buds. With their commitment to quality and exceptional service, they aim to provide an unforgettable dining experience for every one of your guests. You can explore their menu and book your next event and follow them on Instagram at Beyond Basil Pizza. They have an amazing brand out there. And you can embark on your next pizza journey like no other with Beyond Basil Mobile Pizzeria. So go to beyondbasilmobilepizzeria.com, and that's where you're going to find all their information. All right, Erica, here we go, girl. I want you to meet Erica. She's a global training guru and coach whose wavering passion lies in helping you break free from the chains of fear that are holding you back. Fear. God, we need to break that down because, you know, face everything and rise is my version of the fear, but other people's, it just completely debilitates them. So we're going to talk about that. With over 2 decades of experience in training and coaching, Erica has honed her unique woo and do approach. I love that. Blending the mystical with the practical to empower you to align with your deepest desires and take confident strides towards success. Like I said, she's the host of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club podcast. You got to go follow her on Instagram because she's got some crazy stuff going on out there at the Crazy Wives Club on Instagram. Yeah, she gets a lot of sparks going. She shares her own divorce journey, offers hope and support to those facing similar challenges, and with expertise in behavior training, healing, and personal growth, Erica guides you through separation or divorce, empowering you to transform pain into purpose. Hi, Erica.
Hello. You know, I would still say you get to be part of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club because you're the good kind of crazy.
I am.
Accepting, understanding, love and abundance, right? Like we're all crazy, but we should not be crazy in the Slash and Tires country music kind of way. Like we need to be good crazy. Love,
I will tell you,
understanding.
Yeah, I am who I am, right? The situation in one divorce made me crazy because
100%.
it was never let up, like kept coming at me, kept coming at me, kept dragging me to court. This thing went on for 6 years. My second divorce, I was more hurt and damaged because I wanted that one forever. And I would say for that divorce, and most people don't know I've been divorced twice, and now I'm married to the love of my life and my soulmate, but it just took a really long time to find him. I will tell you that divorce was so easy and quiet, and it was, we, did it together. And I just couldn't go through what I went through the first time. And so I felt like I was more mature but if he would have acted the way that the first one did and drugged me through all that, I'd have been right back to batshit crazy.
Yeah. I hear you.
Because you can only take so much and then you break and you're like, bro, I can't do this. Like, I'm going to try and do this. It's like there's this side of me that sleeps. It's a sleeper side. That is that like fierce mom that will like break anything in half if you come after my child, that will like bury you if you attack me, that will like, and so I have all these skills and I've got a lot of training. I'm a black belt. I've got, self-defense training, all this other stuff. I just kind of tuck them away and they really never need to come out unless I am fully pushed to the point where I feel like it's going to be a bad day. Then the bad day is not going to be about, it's going to be for you. It's kind of where, like I'm like that person. Like you don't want that person to wake up and come out because I feel like I just am sweet and kind and I want to love everyone. And that's who I really am in my natural state. Yeah. It's like a mama bear. They're like, just don't mess with her when she's with her cubs because she's kind and she'll let you watch her and, look at her cubs and they'll walk around you. And honestly, that she won't attack you at all until you come after one of her babies and then it's over.
Yeah. And that's how it should be, right? None of us should have to go all the way into aggressive fighting, physical or in the court system, right? That just means that we're way, way out of line.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have all these other tools. As a human, we have all these other tools, right? And we can speak, we can rationalize, we can logically think through problems. And guess what? We still have all those same emotional reactions, the intuition that animals are leading off of, but we've built a lot of tools on top of that. And we should be using those and not be getting to those animalistic reactions unless we're really, truly threatened, right? When we are really pushed there, then we're going to go there.
I've taken on breathing a lot lately. I notice it more and more because it's like part of my life where when I'm starting to feel like, oh my gosh, I have all these things I have to get done in the next 15 minutes. Like my husband and I have a whole bunch of things lined up today and we have to be at the airport by 4:30 to catch a plane. And I'm like, I still got to pack. I still have to, and I find myself just like, just breathing and thinking like, okay, it doesn't matter. You got to calm your central nervous system. You got to bring it all back down into sync. So when we're talking about woo and do, I just want to know, when did that happen? Because you had like some pivotal moments in your life that shifted. So I want to really share that with the audience and help them get to know you better before we start talking about how do you know you're ready? Because I think your story has a lot to do with how you know you were ready to do what it was that you were ready to do.
And every step moves you down your path. For a lot of years, I thought I was off my path. I was like, oh, I got to get back on my path. How do I get back on my path? And the reality is we are always on our path. We're always moving towards what we want. But my story, right? I've always loved self-development. We'd go to the library as kids, and where was I in like the craft section and the learning section and the what else can I learn and do and pick up? Okay, and then you get through high school and I'm highly competitive. I really had the perfectionist streak in me, but I also was a big procrastinator. Learned later in life about something called high performing anxiety. If you haven't heard of that, right? High performing anxiety means we have enough anxiety that motivates us to get stuff done to be the good child and the top performer and don't disappoint anybody, because if you do, they might not love you. That's high performing anxiety. And it motivated me for a lot of years. I also achieved everything I ever set my sights on. Whatever I wanted, I got, born and raised small town Wisconsin. I wanted to go to school in California. Did I apply to Wisconsin schools? Sure. But I was like, I'm going somewhere else. And I did, right? And when I wanted to move out and when I wanted a job and when I wanted whatever. So I had learned very easy the do part of life. I knew how to work hard. I knew how to line up the behaviors. I knew how to break it down step by step. I knew, then you get married, you have a kid. So now it's like managing all those timelines, right? I was the Pinteresting crazy mom who was making the homemade crafts and freezer meals for 30 days and all of the things, right? I knew how to do what needed to be done so that I could stay productive. And I had lost connection with the woo. I had lost connection with my emotions. I had lost connection with the ability to control my emotions, which was the biggest part. Okay, now I am a fire nature. If you get into any sort of personalities, okay, I'm whichever one gets real hot and bothered and angry fast. Okay, there's always one in every type of personality test. I just always had low-lying inflammation. Now, as the stress continues to build, kind of like you're saying with breathing, my central nervous system was always on alert. It was always, what else has to be done? I had trouble falling asleep, right? I was always tired, but I was always doing the work. So when my story pivoted, I knew something was wrong in my marriage. The reality is, let's make sure we put this out there. Every marriage is going to have problems. Nobody's perfect. You don't marry a perfect partner. You marry somebody who is aligned in values and goals and whose ish you can kind of sort of deal with, because you're not perfect either. So they're trying to deal with your stuff and you're trying to deal with theirs, and you're just trying to enjoy life together. Well, I knew we were struggling. I had tried, getting him to therapy. I had, complained and poked and what are we doing? And something is wrong, because at this point I was so unhappy. And I was putting all that pressure on my then husband. Like, hey, if you were different, I could be happy. I'm not happy because you're being annoying and you're not helping me and you're not doing this. And all that does is give away your power to somebody else.
The blame game. Yep.
Yeah. And I was resentful and blaming him and overworked and overstressed, right? And I pretty much wanted an assistant. I want somebody to come in and do the things that I dictate and tell you to do so that my life can run on track. And so, we're trying for a second baby. I think we finally got it back on track. He's going out. He would go out a lot. I'd stay home with our son. And I remember crying and being like, oh my God, I really thought I lost you. I feel like we finally got it back. I really thought I lost you and I thought this was over. He goes out. He's not really responding. I'm like, something's wrong. He's like, I'll tell you later. Comes back from the bar. He tries to go to bed. He tries to just avoid the problem again. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And he says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. This is nothing about you. We don't want the same things anymore. And I'm done. Rolls over, goes to bed. My entire world comes to a halt, right? Everything. I didn't sleep. I still went to work the next day. A beautiful coworker and friend took one look at me and packed up my bags and sent me back out. But I didn't want to be home either. Now at this point, now your nervous system, like even now the goosebumps are raging, right? My nervous system went into a complete fight or flight.
Yeah.
And it started the process of me finding the woo again. The connection to an inner knowing, the ability to choose my emotions, my crazy superpower is the ability to choose love and extend grace. People are hurting and they do mean things, and I don't have to respond to that. I can protect myself. I can go somewhere else, but I don't have to continue the hate. So I went deep into meditation work. I hired coaches and trainers. We were doing, meditation. And it really just came from a place, like you're saying, I just needed to breathe. I hadn't slept in years. Rewinding this right before this, six months or so prior, my dad had, wherever we were, my dad passed away when my son was about 6. So I'd lost my dad, right? I was grieving the loss of that. Now my marriage is drowning. I'm desperate to save it because I don't know how to get my life back on track without it.
Yeah.
And the biggest gift was as he continued to stay avoidant. We were separated for 2 years. And in that 2 years, I started to do my meditation and my breathing work just because I needed to calm down. I started to go for walks. I got into the gym. I'd hated the gym, but I found a group of supportive people. They didn't really
So
know.
important to find community when you feel isolated and alone and big
And
things are happening in your
they
life.
didn't necessarily know all the details, but every week we showed up. And if you missed a class, Erica, where were you? We missed you at class, right? And then again, this movement, moving the emotions and the trauma through the body. I'd work out real hard and cry in the parking lot. Like things were moving out.
You call it woo and I call it self-healing. Like I really feel that there are times in our life when we need to self-heal, and that's just going within and understanding ourselves, trusting ourselves, feeling where our feelings are, feeling where we're trapping energy, because that's where it shows up as like physical pain. Working with Reiki masters, like I do all of that because I necessarily can't always figure it out or know what it is, but they can, because our bodies, the issues are in the tissues, and our bodies will tell them where it is, what we're holding on to, what it, and then we can identify it once they help us hook it down to what it is. Then we can identify it and go, oh, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, because we also avoid our own feelings, right? And so for me, my entire life was taken over by fear, but I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And little by little pieces were coming back. I did my yoga teacher training while I was still married and when my son was little, and in there, we're reading from Judith Hanson Lassiter, I think was the book. And she talks about everything either comes from fear or love. There are no other emotions. If you're angry, the root of it is you're afraid of something. You're afraid something is going to happen. Something's going to be taken away from you. So these little pieces were being dropped in. I had watched The Secret for the first time. If you're into manifesting, right? The Secret's like, here's the steps.
Love it.
I remember watching it and being like, oh, this is what my answer to fix my problems at work. Oh, this was the answer to fix my problems in life. Like I was trying to control the details. I had lost the woo, the sense of spirituality. I was raised Catholic, but I'm not practicing in a church. I just believe that there's a stronger power. I believe that there's some other plan for us than just what we're doing right now in this instant. I found that the more I sat, now I worked for a lifestyle brand. I led meditations. Okay. But when I started doing it consistently, because all of a sudden I was desperate to stop the voices that were telling me that my life was never getting back on track. I started seeing other things. And this is where the woo really opens up, right? I could see flashes into the future. I could see dreams that were gonna, that I really wanted. And that's this beautiful blend of the woo and the do. If we just do and do and do and do, but we never fix our mind and the emotions and the woo part of it, all you do is make a bigger mess.
Well, you didn't have the choice to decide if you were ready for a divorce or not, because I think that from what I'm hearing you say, the choice was made for you, and your husband was moving forward with checking out and separating and doing his thing. So where did you in all of this, because I believe these huge major life changes mold us for our future. Where was it that you started working with clients or with groups or individuals on really helping them understand, like, this is when you know you're ready? Like, I know that I trust myself, but I had to work on trusting myself. So I know when I'm ready for something, because when I'm resistant, there's something I still need to fix. There's something I'm a disbelief. There's something that's still not aligned for me, because and it's not that I need the certainty, because I'm going through that right now with a lot of our family businesses and things that my husband we're buying, businesses and selling. And there's a lot of changes happening right now, But I know when I'm ready for something, because there's this sense of calm that comes over me, and I'm ready, like, and I can commit 100% without fault. Like that's kind of how my world works. How does it work for you and for most people? Because I've never worked with anybody on this, so I don't really know how, how that works. I'd love to hear your take on it.
Yeah. Well, the interesting part is, he rolled over and said he was done, but then he never did anything else. So he waited for me to do the work again. Okay. And so we were separated.
Sorry, I'm laughing because like, oh, so I've been doing everything in the marriage and now you want me to do this too? Like, should I file divorce for you or what?
Yeah. So we were separated for 2 years. He moved out one night while I was out at a concert. Like I finally went out with a friend and came back and the house was empty. And he's like, I rented a place and I'm gone. Like again, avoidant of every major conversation that had to happen. Now remember, I was also scared to death to start over. So what was I doing? Can we work on it? I think we had enough to save it, right? I'm in negotiating, hardcore negotiating, because I've always been able to do and get whatever I want because I could, with my mind, right, negotiate in and use my words to get what I want. And so I'm trying like, hey, let's try therapy. And his answer was just, I'm not ready. And he waited it out. And so the first year I spent locked in fear, desperate to find anything to save my marriage and to get him to change. Now those pieces were finding yourself. Listening to your inner knowing, right? Every coach I hired was like, you know what? We can't control him. We can't control you. Let's focus on what you can control. Okay. So that gets me through the first year. I'm still avoiding it.
That's a huge piece that you just said. That's a good reminder for people. You cannot control other people. So why worry about the things you cannot control? I think that was the biggest factor for me, to let go of the things that we worry about. It's like, why are you worried about it? You can't change it. There's nothing you can do about it. So why are you worried about it? It's wasted space. Like take all that energy of worry and focus back on yourself and what you can do for what you can change for you. I'm glad you said that.
And then when it's too big, like in the beginning, that was too big. I couldn't put the worry aside and they'd be like, okay, I see it. But we can't change that right now, right? No, we can't. I can't. And every time you go chase it down and try and force it to move forward, what happens? He pulls away. Okay. What can we do? Can you go for a walk? Can you eat something healthy? Can you journal this out? Right. So they would continue to shift me back to what can you do? Now we get to year 2. Now in year 2, what's happening? I'm finding myself. The world's starting to look different. Like I'm on walks with my son and the sky and the tree, they have this extra special sparkle. And I'm like, wow, I like me. I'm worthy of having a partner who really wants to show up. Now the real work had to be done. And I had to unwind what were my own childhood wounds, issues around worthiness that I was trying to get him to fulfill. And use him, you can say a partner, a relationship, a job, a title. What do you think that thing gives you that you don't feel worthy without it? And it started to be these conversations. Hey, I really want, you know what I want for a 4th of July holiday? I want a partner who wants to come take our son to 4th of July fireworks, even though it's crazy and even though the parking's a mess. But I want somebody who wants to be there for that. And I want somebody who thinks it's okay to just hang out with family for that holiday. We don't live close. We don't see family every weekend. Like on holidays, we do. I don't want a partner who thinks that it means that they just get to go to the bar and I stay home alone. I think I deserve somebody who wants to be around me. Think I deserve somebody who wants to share some of the same things, right? I, piece by piece, started to find me until I was the one that filed. He actually came back at Christmas. He's like, I'm really sorry. I got on a plane. I was flying to Japan for work. It's a 12-hour flight. And this was before you had cell service on a plane. Okay. So when that boarding doors close, you are shut off for 12 hours. And I sent a text and I said, by the time I land, I want your answer. I'm done waiting for you to figure out what you want. I know what I want in my life now. Hit send. Okay. I don't sleep on the plane. I get there, the phone dings and he says, I'm ready to work on it. And I cry because it wasn't the answer that I wanted.
Yeah.
And so then I had learned, why was I ready to take the leap? Because I had looked at the places that I was relying on him to fulfill me. I had learned how to control and fulfill those things on my own. I had learned how to really love who I was and what I wanted. And when I learned those things, and they were little by little, then I was ready to take the leap. Then I could stand in my knowing, and he's making jokes about how he forgot our anniversary. And I'm like, hey, this is serious. I saw a lawyer today. This is not a time for jokes anymore. So to get there, though, one of the best things, so like if you guys are listening, here's what you need to start doing. Every single night after my son went to bed, I started to visualize. So I had a picture. For me, it was me on the edge of a cliff, and I was looking out at the great expanse in front of me. And I knew that I could sit down and I could stay exactly where I was, and nothing would change. Everything would be the same. I could continue to be in the same space. He's not really here. He kind of sort of shows up. I have my friends. I have my gym. I have my social time. I was able to pay the bills because I was working. Nothing would change. Do you want to stay? Or do you want something more? And so I'd be visualizing this, and eventually, my little spirit animals would come, and one of them was an eagle, and the eagle would fly by, and it was like get close enough for me to touch. And I was like, do you want to leap? And one of the nights in the visualization, I leapt and I flew. Right now you're flying through the clouds, and it's little, I'm not flying for hours or whatever, but it's like the visualization that, do I want to sit down or am I ready? And that's when I knew that I was ready. But to get ready, right, I had to own what were my own problems, what were my own worthiness wounds that I was relying on somebody else to fulfill. And what did I really want in life? Do I want the same things as this other person, whether it's a job or a relationship you're leaving? If you leave before you clean up that energetic mess, you get the same thing again. Have you ever left one and then started dating virtually the same person?
Yeah, you're
again?
like, I'm not going to change, but this next relationship's going to be different. No, it's going to be exactly the same.
Me. It's not going to change you. You have to change to change it. And so the crazy part is that you can change the relationship or the job and never leave it. You don't have to leave to get something new. You have to change you. You have to change how you see things. You have to change how you choose to react to things. So because I had calmed my nervous system down through breathing, through yoga, through napping, a lot of napping, I didn't have to respond in the same way anymore. I didn't have to react to the situations that irritated me. That inflammation, the redness, the fire was soothed.
Yeah.
Could it come out when I needed it? Hell yes. But it didn't control me anymore.
You said something key that I thought was important, because you talked about how as you were doing these visualizations that you weren't ready, and you just kept visualizing and visualizing. And once you had done the work, you had made the decision and knew when you were ready, because you were then ready to leap. And we have to focus on changing ourselves, because if you just keep doing this, you said, I could just stay where I am. And is this where I want to stay? So that's the biggest question for today, I think, for the listeners, is where you are today and what's going on in your life. Is that satisfying? Are you good with that? Or are you saying, I want more, I want changes, I'm not happy anymore? It doesn't just organically change. You have to start working on you, and then the situation will change. So I think the problem is we try to start working on the situation to change first before we look in the mirror thinking everything on the outside needs to change. Oh, I'm good. But no, it's not. We need to focus on us to change, and then the outside, because what we create on the inside, the outside is just a reflection of that. So you can't change the outside without changing the inside.
No, and we think that, oh, well, like let's use a less intense one. Oh, if my job were different, I'd be happier.
Oh, actually,
that's not, no. You don't leave a job at that point. That is not when you leave.
It's the truth. Yeah. Like you've got to change you. Like if you want this other position and you think you're going to be happier in that position just because the people are going to be different, the atmosphere is going to be different. It may be, if you're moving from, working on an assembly line to working at Disneyland, there's going to be a big difference in an atmosphere and an environment. However, if you don't change, what happens is you start recreating everything in the outside world exactly the way it was before because you never changed.
Yeah. And you might be the one who's poisoning the pool. Like if Disneyland might be the happiest place on earth, and then you get a job there and all of a sudden you're complaining,
making everybody miserable.
What has to happen and this and that. And all of a sudden what happens? Yeah, you're right. And all of a sudden everybody's crabby.
Yeah.
So my thing is, and this is the key to the woo and the do. Do not do until you line up the energy.
Yeah.
Do not do. So you can stay exactly where you're at, and you need to clean up your own mess first. And once you clean up your own mess, now a couple things will happen. The situation you're in will change to match you, or a new situation will show up to match the new you. But running, throwing things away, thinking that, it's easier to start over. That is not the answer. It is work either way. It is work if you stay. It is work if you go. So why not do the work now to see if the place you're in can actually evolve to meet you and what you want?
Yeah. It's interesting. My husband and I, when we met and got married 16 years ago, we had both been doing work. We had both made decisions. We had both decided on how we wanted our lives to look, who we were going to be, which was exactly ourselves stripped down. And whoever we met, they were going to love us exactly the way we were. And when we met each other, it was what we both wanted. And we were both looking for the same things in life. But there's no way our paths could have crossed any earlier, because neither one of us would have been ready for the other person, and it wouldn't have worked. So I do think it's so important that great things come when you focus on getting everything lined up for yourself. It's crucial, and it's important, and it's really key to what we're talking about today. And how you know you're ready is because you've done the work, and you're going to know you're ready for that next step. But you've got to start with trusting yourself. So you've got to follow this crazy lady, Erica, at the Crazy Ex-Wives Club on Instagram. You can find her at the crazyexwivesclub.com. And you have a quiz. What's the quiz?
Yeah, so it's called Finding Your Way.
Are you?
Yeah, Finding Your Way Forward. Where are you? What phase are you?
Here we go. This is the beginning.
Divorce.
Yeah, this is the beginning. The Crazy Ex-Wives Club, and you get to click on the quiz. What phase are you?
Yeah, and so it takes you through. There's 3 phases, right? Do I stay or do I go? Who am I now that I made a decision?
Yeah.
And how do I thrive in my new normal? So where are you? Because within each of those phases, there are things, mindsets that you need to line up to, and then action to take. And so and the quiz was meant to make you laugh, right? Because we get so serious. Like sometimes I use song lyrics in there. I'm like, are you, like, one of the question is like, are you sleeping single in a double bed? Right? That's from an old country song. Like silly things like that. Okay. But it gets you to the point of knowing what phase you're in. And then, here's the other piece. I don't withhold the information. It'll tell you what phase you're in, whether or not you put your email in there. If you want the little tip sheet that guides you through each of the 3 phases, drop your email into it. It'll send it over to you. And now you've got 3 specific activities, things that you can do to help you get lined up. Because if you're really, really balled up, you have, indecision going on. Am I making the right choice or not?
Sure.
You can't make any choice. And so we got to start somewhere, kind of like I do want to go back to your breath. Breathing is the only conscious choice you have to affect your central nervous system. You can't tell your heart to slow down. You can't tell your anxiety to stop. You can't tell yourself to stop worrying. You can tell yourself to take 5 deep breaths. You can tell yourself, take those deep breaths. What are 5 things I see in my room? Use your senses. What do I see? What do I smell? What do I hear? Brings you back to the present moment. Now your logical mind is back on track. Now you're like, oh, like today, you're going to take your 5 deep breaths and be like, oh, I have a list of things. One thing at a time, I'm going to tick off my list. Okay. Breathing, one thing at a time. So go take the quiz, figure out where you're at, get the handout.
That's why I think my cold plunge works so well. I don't have a cold plunge at my house that I can just jump in anytime I want, but it's when you get into a cold plunge, you're forced to breathe pretty heavily to start because your body's kind of in shock a little bit and it's trying to regulate itself. So you're really forced to bring in the internal breath and blow it out, and deeper breaths and blow it out. And all of that breathing helps just calm you down to where your body just is in a mode where it's relaxed in the water, and then it doesn't hurt anymore. There's no pain, there's no tingling. And you just kind of I forget that I'm like in really cold water because my body starts getting used to it. And then I'm calm to the point where I can grab my phone now and I can like take a photo or laugh at a friend who's in another pool next to me and we can talk. But don't even try to have a conversation with me for the first 20 seconds I'm in the water, at 37 degrees, because all I'm doing is focusing on a point, saying, I can do hard things. I can do anything. I can do hard things. And I'm breathing and I'm breathing. And so I think whenever we come up on these big mountains and these challenges, right, I always say you're the only you that's ever been, you're the only you that's ever going to be. So nobody's going to just come to your rescue. Coaches are there to guide you, not rescue you. They're not pulling you out from the burning building or the cold frozen water. We need to get ourselves out of that. So what tools can you use? And I love that tool and the tips that you're giving. It's really kind of a starting point of what we can use to be able to get ourselves to focus, to see clear, because the fog is real. And when the fog is real and you have no clarity, that's when you need to really kind of start working on yourself to get there. So Erica, today's been a fun conversation. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. It was really fun. You guys keep breathing one step at a time, right? Nobody climbed the staircase by jumping the whole thing.
No.
So focus.
No.
Power of focus.
And the first time I went in a cold plunge, I could barely make it 90 seconds. And I was tense the whole time, waiting for her to count it down. And the second she said 90 seconds, I jumped up and got out. Now I had her doing videos last time. We set it for 3 minutes, and my alarm was going off while she's holding my phone, taking videos, and we're just laughing like we could just sit in here forever. Like we're totally fine. So practice makes perfect.
It's the power of focus, right? Because in that same moment, you could choose to continue to let your mind think, oh my God, it's so cold. I can't be in here. Is it done? Is it done? Is it done? You can stay on that rat race, or I'm going to choose to focus on something else. And that's what the woo and the do is trying to get you to do, right? Because when you can choose your focus, you can do anything.
Well, today was an extra long episode, and I'm so glad Erica was here. It was so worth it. The conversation needed to be had, and everything you brought up is so true. So for all of you that have been listening to these episodes week after week, and you're like, there's all these things I want to do, and you talk about designing your life, but I just never know if I'm ready. Today's a good episode for you to dive into. Take the quiz. What phase are you in? Understand, are you ready to do the things that really kind of scare you a little bit? But I know if we don't take the leap in our lives in so many areas, that we're just going to stay stuck and we're never going to improve. And I'm all about improving and being the best version of myself every day. And it's little by little by little by little. And I'm really never done. It's every day until the day we die. So Erica, thanks for being a guest on today's show. Thank you for all of you for joining us as you do week after week. We're so thankful to our loyal fans. And until next time, never forget, be you and be strong. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery, where you learned the tools to create a life by design. Remember, you are the only you there is, and you are the only you that will ever be. Be you and be strong, because you are brilliant, and the world needs you at your best. We cannot wait for you to join us again next time.